Hello, readers and friends. Thank you for joining me. If I'm chatting from the writer's room, it must be Wednesday. Though, as you watch this, I'm not actually in the writer's room. AC and I are away for a few weeks, and we're traveling extensively in Scotland, Northern Ireland, the Irish Republic, and England, while I do some research for several of my projects. I can't tell you where I am today as I've pre-recorded this and I'm not sure where we are. But I know when I return home, I will bring some fresh perspectives and new topics for our chats. In the meanwhile, I will continue to be with you on Wednesdays, California time, with a mixture of new conversations recorded in advance like this one, along with some of the best efforts AC gleans from our archives of previous chats. So without further preliminaries, let's get to it. She was an open book. He was illiterate. This came across my desk last January. When I first read it, I laughed out loud. Figures, I said to myself. Then after a few minutes, I said, that's so sad. I took this to mean that she was receptive, approachable, honest, direct, and that he was unaware, oblivious, unconscious, ignorant, harsh. That word is harsh. Ignorant, unmindful, careless, unresponsive. And yet this may be the way in many relationships, whether romantic, platonic, friendship, colleague, peer, neighbor. This quote may be about two people who have just met. They may have been a man and a man, a woman and a woman, a man and a man, or a man and a woman. This may be a quote about colleagues who have worked together for eons. And this may be about two people who've been married for decades. So I want to ask, what if this person who was illiterate just acted as if he were literate? William James, American philosopher and psychologist, first used the phrase act as if in 1884. The last part of James' original sentence, and the most important part, is usually left out. So the full quote is this: act as if you make a difference. Act as if what you do makes a difference. It does. So what if this person were to act as if what they did made a difference in the person whose life is an open book? And what would their lives look like if the open book person were to be encouraging, patient, kind, loving, listened? Simone Weil says, attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. In the 7th book of the Walkerville series, Rewire, Ted is one of the main characters. He's someone who observes both himself and other people. In another part of the book, you learn about boundaries he sets with people that he works with. Most of the time, they don't even know he's setting one. In this segment, we learn that both Ted and Sue are open books. For them, the challenge is admitting to themselves how they feel about each other. He was good at many things, and one of those things was paying attention. He had come to know the change in her breath when she was excited about something, a new recipe, a great batch of lemon curd, Mrs. Manycolors bringing home a present. He was also aware of the things that disturbed her. She had a habitual flinch when he made a sudden movement, like when he would sometimes scrape his chair back to clear off the table after a meal. He'd noticed the color drain from her face, leaving a blank mask with her hardly breathing. He noticed how the right tendon on her long neck pulsed when she had a secret thought. Her brown eyes would film over and she'd emotionally check out. Her soft breathing would be his only indication that she was still present. He noticed when she hunted for a cup full of sugar, forgetting that she'd carefully placed it on the windowsill while she went to take a delicacy out of the oven. And most of all, he paid attention to how her eyes lit up whenever he entered the room. Or maybe he was just seeing his joy reflecting in her eyes. This is a possibility when both people are open to themselves and hopefully to each other. The world unlocks and becomes bigger. Questions about why, when eating a meal, someone makes sure that things add up. Their last bite contains protein, vegetable, and starch. Observing this formula could lead to an intriguing conversation about food quirks. What happened when you did or didn't clean up your plate? What is it about making sure your last bite is even is so important to you? How does that make you feel? The topics for conversation around this are endless. Favorite meal memories, not so favorite memories, the most exotic meal you ever ate, the most awful one you ever had, and what's your favorite food? What's your comfort food? AC and I talk a lot about things, ideas, politics, personal history, individual process. I enjoy the times when we discover a new shared interest between us, and sometimes I am surprised. I have never paid much attention to any sports. AC, on the other hand, went to his first Giants game when he was just 8 years old, when the team moved from New York to San Francisco. He uses a pen to keep his scorecard. He has a Giants cap with many quad candlestick pins. These pins were a sign of honor among die-hard Giants fans. It was an award pin given out to fans as they left Candlestick Park at the end of an extra inning night game. As an acknowledgement to the ballpark's legendary freezing winds, the pins carried the motto, Veni, Vidi, Vixi. I came, I saw, I survived. We went to spring training a few times and, of course, to the first game of the World Series on October 17th, 1989. I got religion sitting behind home plate, being able to see what baseball was all about. I loved the thought that goes into a pitch, the deliberate way a batter scopes out the field. I loved watching the ballet between shortstop Jose Uribe, second baseman Robbie Thompson, and first baseman Will Clark. Their unspoken communication, the fluid movement of their bodies as they performed yet another thrilling double play. I loved having another bond that allowed AC and I to share experiences, ask questions, enjoy a game together, whether it was listening on the car radio, on TV, or watching from Candlestick Park. The world became a bigger place for both of us. And he still teases because I impatiently demand that the manager replace an underperforming pitcher. He is a good teacher, and I am a curious student. We were both open books, both curious. When the Walkerville Desire series started, I spent my time writing while AC took on the role of editor and general factotum. We've actually co-owned several businesses together over the years, and each one was different with their own high learning curve. The same happened when we began to work together with the books. We had to discover a rhythm. He had to listen to my characters' voices and their speech patterns, as well as my style of writing and my voice. We would argue, we took a lot of timeouts, and we would come back ready to continue on with the editing, the book cover completion, whatever the task on hand was. We did it. AC does all the formatting, getting the books to be published. He communicates with all the powers that be. I am not capable of being in that world. I find it too daunting, and I forget my words. I get confused. AC navigates that world much better than I do. My niche is creating the world of Walkerville, following my characters as they tell me their stories. People who connect with each other about specific interests, passions, dreams, and goals adds a level of individuality, creates a whole personality. This leads to learning more about a person, deepening the connection, unearthing a secret that leads to trust, that leads to more openness, more conversations, more questions, more sharing, more laughter, perhaps tears, vulnerability that allows the relationship to grow. I once had a colleague who allowed himself to spend no more than $5 3 times a week at the Goodwill. His favorite finds were broken kitchen clocks, which he repaired and donated. A local organization that helps women and children in domestic violence situations supplied families who were leaving the shelter with some food, clothing, bed linen, cooking implements, and his kitchen clocks. I asked him why he did it. Shrugging, he said, "I just feel good." I was talking with someone about mutual friends who recently got married after living together for 12 years. I made the observation that I thought Jessie was always more committed to the relationship than was Leslie. Jessie is the one who planned, organized parties by hiring caterers and cleaners, picking a theme. However, Leslie, even with the hired caterers, would insist on cooking the main course as well as having the final say about who was included on the guest list. Someone once told me the balance of power changes often in a good relationship. Sometimes I take the rein with a particular project of ours, especially since I wake up and hit the ground running, whereas AC just nods, eats his cereal and yogurt, and does his "yes, honey" routine. Sometimes he takes the lead. Our process is organically self-selected, self-appointed. It's choreographed spontaneity. It's about our skill sets. For instance, like I said earlier, AC does much better than me with phone calls. I just want to call to get my point across, get what I wanted, and hang up. Sort of like driving from point A to point B. I don't dawdle, I don't make any stops along the way. When AC drives, I enjoy his meandering, especially when we're traveling. I feel this comes from cooperating with each other for decades, arguing sometimes, compromising, discussing, acquiescing, and always trying to listen to each other. We take turns being the open book, and neither of us are illiterate, thank God. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me today from the writer's room as I attempted to open my book to you a little bit. And I invite you to do the same by leaving a comment here or sending me a private message on Instagram or Facebook if you prefer more privacy. And please take a minute to like this video. And if you'll click that red subscribe button and set the little bell to get notifications, you'll not only be reminded about these chats, but you can be sure you'll get the updates on the newest Walkerville Desires book. Of course, the address of my Amazon page is in the description below. All the Walkerville books are available there in both Kindle and print editions. And please share this link with any friends of yours that you might think might enjoy my writing. And as always, the direct link for next Wednesday's chat is down in the description as well. Hope to see you then, and thank you so much.